Hey, PragerU, I wanted to answer your question, what should be taught in every high school curriculum? And you'd probably expect me to say, oh, computer science is very important. That's what should be focused on and taught because computers are the future or whatever. But not everyone is going to go into computers, and everyone needs to learn to like exercise their brain and develop like the brain muscle. And one thing I remember learning is that a lot of the top computer science people, like for example Donald Knuth, the author of The Art of Computer Programming, you can check his Wikipedia. He's like a legendary computer science person. Was also an organist and a composer, and a lot of like the top computer people were actually like solid musicians. So actually, and like I also had piano lessons when I was like 8 to 12, 8 to 13, and like I could, especially with I had some difficulty with the left hand, but I was able to with the right hand, look at the piano music and play it. And I also after that I also did guitar, and the very act of just like looking at the notes, determining what note it is, playing the note, and then hearing, is that the right note or the wrong note? And if it's the wrong note, doing it right the next time. That sort of iterative process kind of builds brain muscle. And it's the same sort of iterative process when you're writing code, where you write some code and you try to run it and it goes error. You type the wrong thing, and then you fix it and then you try again, and you sort of this iterative feedback loop, same as like reading music and then playing the note and hearing if it's right. You type some code, you run it, and you see like, oh, did it produce the right output or did it not produce the right output? And if it didn't produce the right output, like what's wrong and how do I fix it? So there's this sort of iterative feedback loop of like, read, do something, is it correct? Read, do something, is it correct? That kind of exercises the brain. And so like, yeah, computers are great. It's a great skill to have, to be good with computers and coding and technology. But the predecessor of that skill, the thing that like builds your brain before you get into the computers, is actually music, is actually reading music. And like, for example, like let's say you get like a keyboard, like an electronic keyboard, and you like play around with all the different sounds the keyboard can make, and you learn to read the notes and play the notes, and you take lessons with that. That process is brain exercise, and that sort of process is kind of similar to the process that you use when you're doing the computer coding later on. So I would say that, yeah, sure, teach computer science in high school, but before that, teach music. Like everyone should be able to read sheet music and play the notes that they read and like hear the notes correct or not, and then if they're not, fix it. So yeah, start with music, and then after you've learned music and you can read sheet music and you can play music, then start to learn the computer science stuff. So first music, then computer science. Also, another issue with computer science is a lot of the learning is like based on like trying something, fuck up, try again, try something, fuck up, try again. And it's a lot easier to do that process when your computer isn't like totally locked down by the school. And the computers that they give kids for learning tend to be like very locked down. That they're usually like some sort of Windows computer that's like a non-administrator account where they can't install stuff, and like they can't play around with it, and they can't like just like if they can't like fuck up the computer and then wipe the whole operating system and then reinstall the whole operating system from like a wiped computer. And like when I was doing my computer science degree, that was something I actually did a lot. Like I would do something, I would install Linux, I would do some stuff, I would mess up the computer, I would wipe the whole computer and then reinstall the whole operating system. And that's something I did like multiple times as part of the learning process. And when you have like a super locked down environment, you don't have the opportunity to like fuck up, wipe everything, redo, experiment, fuck something up, wipe everything, redo. So that's an issue. And also like another thing is like younger kids, they tend to like have nothing to do. Like they don't, like when you get to college, a lot of kids are like, let's go drink alcohol and party and have sex for the first time or second time if you're had sex in high school, but whatever. But like that's like freshmen are like all into that, and so they tend to like play less video games. But when you're in high school, you don't have like the partying and the social life that you do in college. But you're also kind of restricted, and so you end up kind of filling the gap with video games, or at least I did when I was in high school. And so there is a tendency for high schoolers to be like, oh, we have a computer, let's just open up the web browser and play games on it. So like, yeah, that's an issue, but I don't know, like pros and cons, but like, yeah, there are definitely issues with giving kids like these like super lockdown restricted computers. And also, like, even if you do give the kids a super lockdown restricted computer, you end up in a situation where you have to give them a web browser with that computer just to like access, internet and like basic websites. And when you give them a web browser, they just find games that play in the web browser. And so, locking down their computer doesn't actually prevent them from playing games on it. And then you're like, oh, what if we monitor their screen? Also kind of annoying. And if you're a good teacher, you can get their attention. If you're a bad teacher, they will all just talk over you and try and pass notes and flirt with their girlfriend and play games during class. Like I taught high school. It was a program, the Microsoft TEALS program, TEALS, where you co-teach computer science with a professional teacher. But yeah, like if you're a bad teacher, the kids will just not listen to you and talk over you and whatever, and try and play games in class. But there's definitely, it definitely, some people are better teachers than others, and you don't always know, like you can't always predict just by looking at someone or like what degree they have, who's better at like controlling a class full of kids who don't want to be there. But yeah. So in general, one thing that I don't like is having this like really locked down Windows computer where you can't like install software tools and like do like experiments and then wipe the computer and then reinstall the operating system. So like I find it helpful to be like, okay, let's learn how to install, Ubuntu Linux operating system or Fedora Linux or Mint Linux onto the computer, or even like learn like how to assemble a computer, like how to assemble like a desktop, like a cheap desktop just from parts, like to buy the parts and then like physically like stick the RAM in and like put the CPU in the motherboard, and then you have a computer that you built and then install the operating system. Maybe you download Linux from Google, download Ubuntu Linux, and you download the Linux and you flash it to a USB, and then you stick the USB in, and then you install the Linux from the USB onto the hard drive, and then maybe you try and you do something with the computer, and then you accidentally fuck something up, and then you have to redo the process and wipe the hard drive. So there's a like a learning aspect to it where there's like a fuck up and learn, and like you don't really get that learning aspect when you have this like lockdown like school account computer. Like usually it's like a Windows like non-administrator account kind of computer, and like you have to like get like administrator permission to install anything, and like no administrator at the school wants to waste time with that shit. So you end up just not being able to like do the low level experimentation and learning. But again, before you get to that point where you're focusing on computers, you should have the brain development which you get from music. Also, sleep is really important. Sleep deprived kids do not perform as well. Sleep, I guess, is good for brain growth and memory. Some kids, will be playing video games all night, staring at a bright screen, not getting tired, and then they have to wake up early, or they don't, or they'll be up like super late on the weekends, and they struggle to wake up on like Monday, Tuesday, and then they're really tired, especially at the beginning. Also, some schools, like their classes start at 7 a.m., which is horrible for like 17-year-olds. Like I taught at I did the Microsoft TEALS program with a school called Avant-Garde Academy, and this school had elementary, like the high school basically started like a little after 7 a.m., like 7:15 a.m. I don't remember exactly, but like I was first period, and the kids had their fucking faces, eyes closed, face down on the desk, and I would have to like wake them up and be like, hey, this class is starting, wake up, open your eyes, and like they would be like in class, and that's horrible. That is gonna tank academic performance. So yeah, computer science, great, but before computer science, music, and before music, sleep. So get the good sleep, don't be staring at bright screens at night. They will prevent you from getting tired. Maybe if you need to look at a screen at night, there's a thing called a blue light filter. Blue light inhibits melatonin. Melatonin is what makes you feel tired. So you could use reduce the brightness, use a blue light filter, or just like read a book. Reading a book before bed can help you be tired with like a book light. Maybe like you could clip a book light to the book.
But yeah, reading before bed makes you tired. Maybe do puzzles or something. But again, like start. They should be like try to go to bed at the same time every day, just so that they don't have that discrepancy in sleep, which you get from like staying up late on the weekends. So first, start with good sleep. Once good sleep is established, next step is music lessons. Then once you have, you can read music and you have that brain development, then only then can you get to the computers. Because if you have like shitty sleep and you have didn't exercise your brain, another good thing is like chess is good for brain exercise. We had some really great computer programmers from my high school's chess club. So yeah, actually, a guy named Danny Sepler, another guy named Noah Brown, both went to my high school. Both were in the chess team. Both were great programmers and great chess players. So yeah, chess and music, great sleep, then chess and music, and then when they know how to play chess, they've got the brain exercise from chess. They know how to read music. They can play music. They have the brain exercise from music. Then you do learn computers. But yeah,